claim your legal fiction. Until you do that, you're property of the government through the burst vinegar. And this is right around the planet. Right, then you say, well, that's nonsense. Well, how come you can explain that the elderly are being euthanized in the hospitals? How come you can see that some parents are having their children taken away from them by the social service and the police because they were made property of the government in the burst vinegar? So it's a very big transition, and it's going to be a slow transition. This is going to help to wake people up. But at the moment, slowly, they've started in the 1600s, so it's not going to be done very fast. The main thing now is to prevent the incrimination of what's happening here. Why? They say, is Julian Assange a journalist? Well, journalist is a word we get from the French. Bonjour, it means day. Journal is the book you write in. Ist, if you're an artist, you're good at that. Like word craft, putting words together. Now, bonjour was like day, but you can interpret it as being night as well, because this would have been before electricity. So anyone who has a craft with words is a journalist. And the point I'm making is how indoctrinated we've been, because they distracted people with, is Julian Assange a journalist? If a child comes home to a mother and says, Mummy, this is what I've written today, she is a journalist. If a boy writes a poem, he is writing something in down. It is not the authority of the corporations to decide who is a journalist. Anyone who has a craft with words is a journalist. The issue one now is, for 12 years, some people who have a camera have not exposed what is really going on. Now, I make the distinction between failed media, and what I mean is the people who had a camera or have been taught to be mainstream media have never earned the title of being mainstream media. To change it to failed stream media, and the live streamers are bringing a fresh look at what needs to be done. In my opinion, the danger now is the other point that was raised in the early parts of Julian Assange was that Julian Assange was a rapist. Now, to my knowledge, 2 women had consensual sexual pleasures with a man. There was no evidence of violence or brutality. Then they went to the police afterwards to say, do you have a STD, sexual transmitted disease check? Now, this is crazy. What I don't understand is, I live in Scandinavia, I'm very free. Why ask someone after you've had sex to have a test? This is very weird. Then the police took her and made smear. Now, one now is 2 women have given permission. Yeah, so at the moment there's a massive danger, because the point I'm making, how easy it was for them to say, is Julian Assange a journalist? They go, oh my God, is he a journalist? It's anyone who has a craft with words and gets accepted by the people. So the one now is, the people are the law, they have always been the law. The one now is, because they use violence, the people must not use violence. However, that's what they want to do. And why I say that, Trafalgar Square, Hyde Park. So their whole system, and if you go back to the early days, the opium trade, London was built on murder, crime, stealing land, and then the slave trade. The hard bit is, it's our ancestors, not necessarily individually, who created the problems. The hard bit now is for us to say, look, we are the children. We now have a duty to solve these problems for the children and the grandchildren. We cannot leave this planet in the state it's in for the children and the grandchildren. I have a screen grab of a small teenage girl, maybe she was 13. She wanted to be a nurse. And she thought she was helping, so she had the she's now crippled for life. Now, most people, we don't want to look at the horrible things because they scare us. However, the question now is, last week they decided to put facial recognition in the schools. Are you telling me that the is there? It's not. It's there to create brain damage, it's there to create bacterial pneumonia, and it's there to create the fear and the ambulance is screaming up and down the road. It's there to ramp up the fear. Don't tell me that you are feeling unwell and you want to be in an ambulance driving like a bat out of hell is for your health. Bollocks, it's not. So at the moment, without the live streamers, we wouldn't be where we are now. The main thing now is, for me, I differentiate. Live streamers is fresh attitudes. Mainstream media is dead because they cannot get up to the caliber that Julian Assange has set with research and the ability for people to speak their truth and live without fear of violence. I had a Turkish reporter come up to me and ask me today, and I said I wouldn't give an interview. The point now is, they're all coming out of the woodwork now. Yes, what happened to you 12 years ago? Now at the moment, Khashoggi, and I brought out the point of Khashoggi, the point I'm making is, the system is so corrupt, they can say, listen, here's a flat, here's an island, and go and do this and we'll take care of everything. The one now, the transition will be very difficult for people because people are used to things working. But the question now is, from the 1600s we've been living on a tyrannical system. And now the people have to take responsibility. They have to go and talk on their neighbours and say, listen, let's cook some food together and stuff like this. It's a very difficult transition. So what I'm standing with is common law and sacred law to claim your legal fiction. I'm also building a bridge to the indigenous calendar, which was originally built on 13 female menstruations per year. That calendar got destroyed. The question now is, this was to do with the natural female rhythm, but also nature seasons. So the difficulty we have a system that is very jagged, doesn't make sense, So one, it's a very difficult transition, but so the common law people use 12, and I'm using 13 because of the 13 menstruation, because we must basically embody the matriarchal, but also to balance between the patriarchal. The patriarchal is out of balance in this system. I got jumped on by 4 TSG. I've been attacked by the police twice for freedom of speech. Now, at the moment, how can you have a corporation saying, we know what we're doing? You have a Monsanto, who were originally called AG Farben, which had connections to the gas, which they gas people in Auschwitz. I have been to Auschwitz, I went there with a Danish school. The one now, the hardest bit will be the transition, that feeling of not knowing. The question now is, this is important, go to the neighbour, cook together. You don't need to know what's going on, but if the elderly are being euthanized in the hospitals and you're out on the march, your focus is wrong. And I'm not trying to criticize anyone, but the question is, we need to go to the hospitals, don't go in the hospitals, stay outside, talk to people. Have you got relatives gone into the hospital? Do you know anyone who has no family, who's due to go in the hospital? They need help. Because at the moment, in my opinion, the elderly person, they need to be at home, and you get someone who's a healer to come to them to help them, different healers. So we need to reverse everything. The parents need to be doing home education. We have got to stop this. Schools with facial recognition, get out. The line has been drawn. And I am not saying violence. I'm saying we have to grow up. There is no justice in this building. It's a place of business. It's designed. The 1953 coronation was unlawful. It didn't have the people's blessing. So the hardest bit is what the police want is to say an excuse to bring out martial law. That must not happen. We must be peaceful. And the question now, we need you live streamers to record what's going on in any situation. So more to get network with each other, because sometimes we go there and there's no one there to say, you have 3 people at Hyde Park. You can say, well, I'm going to cover the health at Hyde Park, send a text, I'm on it, but I'm going to need a break in 2 hours, so that basically you don't have 3 or 4 live streams in the same place, showing the same film. But that, I think, thank you so much for being out there, and without you we wouldn't have got this far. But it's going to be tough because the mainstream media, they've now been made obsolete. Thank you for being there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.